Thank you to the library at UMT for helping to organize today's webinar session. I know that today is the first day for your open day, so I hope you are having a very good, successful day for the event, and I wish you well for the next 2 days of open days. For me, I'm not able to be at UMT this time, but I have my colleague with me on site, and he's Henry. He is the account manager for Malaysia. So Henry, you want to say hi to those who are on the call? Or maybe Henry is Henry, are you there?
Hello. Yes,
Yeah.
hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
My name is Henry. I'm on site at UMT Library, and thank you very much for Jolene for doing online trainings. If you have any questions, you can raise your questions here, or you can see me at the library now. Yeah. All right. Without further ado, Jolene, over to you.
Thank you. All right. So once again, welcome to today's webinar session. My name is Julin, and I'm the Regional Solution Consultant from Clarivate, who will take you through about 90 minutes of the solutions that you have access to at UMT, provided to you through the library from Clarivate. Okay. So there are three products that I'll be covering today. The first one will be on Web of Science, and then we will go into journal citation reports and also insights. So each of these tools can be used as part of your research journey within UMT, and I hope that today's session will be beneficial for all of you users at the library. Now, like what Henry mentioned, there's a few options if you have any further questions after today's session. First and foremost, through the 90-minute session, if you have any questions, do put them into the chat box or the Q&A panel, and I will try and monitor those questions. Otherwise, you can always speak to Henry in person today at the library. Okay. So I want to apologize in advance to everybody because at some point in time I might have to pause myself to cough because I'm still recovering from COVID. So I apologize in advance. Okay. So let's start with the Web of Science. I think many of you on the call as well as on site are researchers, definitely of varying experience. Some of you are early career researchers, some of you are faculty members, but ultimately all of you would do research as part of your work. So what I want to do today is to frame the presentation around your research work journey, your research workflow. So the thing that I have on the screen here is a typical workflow for literature reviews. But in the event that you are writing a research paper, a proper research paper, most of the steps here can apply to your work. So these steps involve, number one, problem formulation. So how are you going to define the research question that you want to answer with your research? Then followed by literature searching. So to you, it might seem like a novel idea, but looking through the literature, finding out what has been explored already is critical in order to ascertain whether you are indeed working on a breakthrough research. Next, once you have defined the problem, you have searched for materials, ultimately for the review paper writing, you need to do some form of evaluation. So compiling all the data that was retrieved, looking at all the literature, do some analysis and data evaluation to make your own interpretation of what should be solved with future research, or what are you going to solve with your research itself. Then finally, once you have framed all these different sections and details, you will then start to write your paper. So writing the paper would involve, number one, writing it with your co-authors perhaps, and you want to be sure that you are able to use a tool that can help you to write easily and also to publish easily. So The Clarivate tools that I'm going to share with you today will help address each of these different stages of your research journey. So say, for example, in problem formulation and literature searching, the Web of Science will be very useful for you as your initial, your first stop to research discovery. So the Web of Science itself can be used to find related materials that are close to the topic that you want to research on, so that you can be comprehensive in your literature searching. At the same time, within Web of Science and even on InCites benchmarking and analytics, there are tools available to help you to evaluate the data and also to analyze and interpret the findings. Then finally, writing the paper and publishing the paper requires you to have tools like EndNote. So for EndNote is a reference management tool that you can use to manage all the references that you have compiled. And publishing. Journal citation reports will be used to help you to make the best decision on selecting the right journals to publish your paper. So all the different tools of Clarivate can actually fit across the whole research workflow. So let's start with problem formulation and literature searching. Problem formulation and literature searching usually involves doing some kind of search. And when it comes to searching for related materials, most users or even researchers or even myself, I always rely on keywords. So keyword searching is usually the first step for any researcher when they are trying to find materials online. But keywords can be easy. However, there are some limitations. Now, what are these limitations? Think about the keyword. When you type in a keyword of, let's say, nanoparticles, you're ultimately finding the mention of the word nanoparticles within the text of the articles. So it could be in the title, the abstract, or the keywords of those articles. However, this will only surface articles that mention those keywords, right? But it does not show you the linkage or the connection between the different research papers. So how has paper A influenced paper B? How has paper B influenced paper C? And so on. Now, this connection that I'm talking about is very critical when you want to identify novel ideas. Why am I saying this? It's because it's only through identifying the evolution of the research, identifying and seeing clearly the connection between different research papers, that you can understand where the different gaps are for that research topic. Okay? So how is this connection established within a platform like the Web of Science? So the Web of Science itself is not a full text database. Okay, full text databases are plenty out there. Yeah, you can go to different publishers' websites, try to retrieve the full text paper. But imagine if you had access to the whole galaxy of publishers' content. Okay, so this is where the Web of Science comes in. What we do is we have indexed the references of all the articles that are included in the Web of Science. Okay, and the Web of Science is not limited to just one publisher. It is irrespective of publisher. It is selected based on the curation of quality content that is influencing the science currently. So the Web of Science platform is a citation index database. You will be able to see the full list of references of all the articles in Web of Science. And because of this comprehensive indexation of references, you can see how different papers have been mentioned in different and other papers. Okay, so what do I mean by this? It can sound a bit abstract, but I am describing the citation network. So on the screen here, on the bottom right-hand side, you would see what we call the citation connections. And this is what the fundamental thinking behind Web of Science is. We want to be able to allow researchers to identify these connections between research so that they are comprehensive in identifying the trends, the gaps, and the next hot research topic. So how is this connection working in Web of Science? On Web of Science, let's say, for example, you come across a paper that sparked an idea for you. So you think that, oh, it is interesting. Let me see whether I can work on this for my research. So I will call this my Eureka paper, something that sparked an idea for me. So this 2012 Eureka paper is where you can begin to explore what we call the citation network. So from this 2012 paper, you want to be comprehensive in finding all the related content. So the first thing is to find historic data. So what has been published before 2012 that has been utilized and linked to this 2012 paper. So to do this, to find out this historical information, you will look at the reference list used by this 2012 paper, or what we call the cited references. So these are papers published before 2012 that have been used in writing this Eureka paper that you were looking at. So these blue papers are the historical papers. Then what about looking at things that have happened after 2012? This is where you look at the time cited. So for time cited, this is basically the count of how many times this 2012 paper has been mentioned in newer content. So the green set of papers here are papers published after 2012 until current time that you can start exploring. So it's through the exploration of cited references and time cited that allows you to look comprehensively across what we call the citation network. Now, on Web of Science itself, there is a third way of exploring the literature. We have what we call the related records. So under related records, these are papers that have shared similar references with this 2012 one. Okay, so they might not have cited each other, but because they share similar references, they can be considered related content. So now you have three ways of exploring the literature: cited references, looking back in history; time cited for newer, more recently published papers; and related records, which are papers that have shared similar references. So when is this citation network exploration useful? It is useful when keywords to a topic is not easy to define. So say, for example, IoT, Internet of Things. So IoT can be applied across many different subspecializations. So in order to define the topic clearly, it's very difficult. The next use case is when you want to trace back to older research. If you are working on, say, chemistry, okay, you're working with chemical compounds day in and day out. What is the use of chemical compounds? One use is used in pharmaceutical drugs, right? So if you are working in chemistry, wouldn't you want to know the application of that chemical compound? You want to be able to explore back in history, how has that technology or that chemical compound been applied in various other aspects, so that you can then identify where the gaps are. So what has it not been tested for to be applied? And that is where your gaps come in. So gaps are an example of how you can identify novel topics to work on. Okay? Then the third use case is for when you need to see where a research trend leads. So the chemical compound is an example. You want to know the historical applications and also what is being looked at currently. So there might be some current technology applications that have not been successful, and you will then be able to identify and see which are these unsuccessful applications, and then target those as potential research topics that you can work on. Okay. So I'm spending so much time on this slide because it is fundamentally the basis of how Web of Science was built. It is built so that you are able to quickly find and identify the most related content and easily look at trends and identify gaps for your research. And that is also the reason why the Web of Science core collection is designed to be selective in coverage. Okay, we are designed to not cover every single thing out there. For that, you have the good old Google. Yeah, but for the Web of Science core collection, we understand the importance of research integrity. We understand the importance of current influential research. So the curation of the Web of Science core collection is done by our in-house experts, and we will all the journals will go through an evaluation process. If they meet our quality criteria, they will then be indexed in our Web of Science core collection. So in total, the Web of Science core collection covers journals, 4 journal indexes under science, social science, arts and humanities, and emerging sources citation index. There's also the conference proceedings as well as the books citation index. In total, we have about 21,000 journals, 200,000 conferences, and 100,000 books. Potentially, you would have access to close all the way back to 1900, but this would depend on the subscription of the back files. So it depends on whether UMT has subscribed to the historical data to be available to you on the Web of Science core collection. However, for UMT, I believe you have access to 1975, if I'm not mistaken. But later on, I'll show you how you can easily check which year you have access to. So I mentioned about the curation of Web of Science content. It's based on research integrity, editorial integrity, and this is also very important for new researchers. A lot of new researchers can feel very overwhelmed with the amount of information that is out there, and with the pressure to publish, they can be quite they can easily fall into the trap of publishing into predatory journals. So to avoid such scenarios, the Web of Science is committed to make sure that we only index trusted content by making sure that the journals that are indexed in the Web of Science has gone through strict curation. So no matter whether the journal is open access or not open access, they go through the same evaluation process, and these evaluations are done in-house by our own in-house experts who have no affiliations to any publishers nor to any institutions. But they are definitely subject matter experts. And because of this, your researchers or you yourself will be able to trust the content that is currently indexed in Web of Science. So I mentioned about the curation process. This is just a quick diagram to show you how the journals are classified. So for journals that meet our 24 quality criteria, they will be indexed into the Emerging Sources Citation Index. And this ESCI covers all journals across all the different disciplines. And if they meet an additional 4 more impact criteria, they will be indexed into the flagship specialized collections, which is the Science, Social Science, and Arts and Humanities Citation Index. If there's any journal editors on the line, okay, you might be keen to know what are these criteria. So here are the quality criteria and impact criteria that we use, and it does not differ across any indexes. All indexes use the same qualities, the same criteria. Then in terms of the full text content, now some of you will be asking, so will I be able to get access to the full text content? Yes and no. So we did mention that the Web of Science is not a full text database, but we do give you a link out to the publisher's website to be able to access to the full text if UMT Library has subscription to the journal. At the same time, we also have close to 20% of our content that is open access that you can retrieve freely. Sorry, pardon me. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so you will be able to access full text from Web of Science, but at the same time, you will have access to some of these sorry. So you will be able to access some of these analytical tools that we have access to. And on the screen here, I am showing you two of these available features. So the first feature is your Analyze Results feature that will allow you to look at your set of documents and do some further deep dive analysis on the content. So say, for example, you were searching through physics or nanoparticles, and you came across this 13,000 publications on Web of Science. You can use the Analyze Results feature to help you take a look at which are the institutions or affiliations that publish this area of research. You will also be able to look at which journal titles you can publish in if this is the topic that you want to publish. You can also look at funding agencies that have funding this area of research, or even countries. So all these different data points address different use cases. So you can use this to help you to find collaborators. You can help you to find publications to publish in, or funding agencies to reach out to. Okay. There's also the citation reports feature that will allow you to take a look at the publishing trend. So based on publication numbers, like Web of Science documents, how is it an increasing trend? That means, is it still being a popular topic that is relevant to the science community now? And also the citation counts. Another use case for the citation reports is for you to be able to quickly analyze, say, the performance of a set of documents. So it could be a set of documents from a research group. It could also be a set of documents from UMT itself. And you can run this citation report to look at the performance of those sets of papers. Within the Web of Science itself, we also have various filters available. We have the highly cited and hot papers filter that is very important for you as researchers. If you're familiar with the term highly cited researchers, so the highly cited researchers from Clarivate makes use of the highly cited papers as one of the key metric within the methodology to identify highly cited researchers. So highly cited papers are those published in the published in the past 10 years that have enough citations to put them in the top 1% of their academic field. So these are the cream of the crop of the papers that you should be reading. So if you are looking to find related materials, then this would be one of the important papers that you should be reading in that particular topic that you were searching for. The other filter that you can make use of is the hot papers filter. So these are papers that have been published in the more recent 2 years that have enough citations to put them in the top 0.1% of their academic field. Now these are, as its name suggests, hot and up and coming papers. So these papers would help identify what is the hot trend now for that research topic. Then we have the sort functionalities within the search results page for Web of Science. And one of the sort functionalities we have is called the usage count. So the usage count can be quite useful to also identify interest. So which papers have been of interest to the research community recently. You will be able to sort this by usage count last 180 days, and then be able to identify those to start reading. I mentioned about the link to the full text content, so you can actually link out to the full publisher's website if there is a link to the publisher's website there. And if it's an open access article, it can be denoted by this lock here. So there's an open lock. So you will be able to see that it is free full text from the publisher that you can link out to. For those who have never attended my sessions before, you might want to install this plugin for yourself called EndNoteClick. So EndNoteClick is a service that you can install onto your web browser, so that immediately, if there is a full text available in PDF, that this link will pop up. So next to the result, there will be View PDF with EndNoteClick, and immediately when you click on this link, it will open up a separate tab in your browser, and the full text PDF will be there. So the convenience is that you don't have to search separately on a different database for the full text articles anymore. Now, in the event that you want to do analysis around the open access contributions, we have different levels of open access statuses in the filters. So you can actually filter this down by the different levels of open access as well. Web of Science itself also provides you with some personalization tools. So in order to make use of these personalization tools, you need to register for your own ID and password to access Web of Science. Later on, I'll explain how you can do this. But once you have registered, you will be able to have roaming access for 6 months. So you can immediately go to webofscience.com and sign in with your username and password and use Web of Science wherever you are. Okay. You can also make use of this custom marked list feature. So this marked list feature is a bit like a bookmark feature that we have for you to custom build a results list for yourself. So we understand that when you're looking through literature, searching through literature, sometimes you can't find everything you need in one search. You might want to custom build or select some of these content and build a custom list. So these marked lists are like the custom list that you can build. You can you can save up to 50 marked lists, and within each of these lists, you can save up to 50,000 records. And once you have saved this marked list, you can also use the analyze results and citation reports feature on those custom lists. We also have export capabilities. So in the event that you want to combine the data set with another different data set that you might have, there are various export options available. But just take note that the export is available 1,000 at a time. So say you have 13,945 results, then what you will be doing is exporting this 14 times. Okay, so you start from record number 1 to 1,000, then 1,001 to 2,000, and so on. We also have a mobile app. So earlier on, I mentioned about the roaming access. So once you have signed on with your roaming access, you can download this app and you can start using Web of Science on your mobile devices. We also have a new Web of Science researcher profile available. Some of you might be familiar with Publons. So previously we had Publons as the public profile for researchers. At the same time, also having a Web of Science profile that sits behind a subscription. Now we have migrated the Publons profile into Web of Science, which means to say the public profile is now also on the Web of Science platform. So what does this mean? It means that even non-users of Web of Science will be able to see your researcher profile if they search on webofscience.com. If you need more details on how to claim your own researcher profiles on Web of Science, we have a self-guided training that you can go to. So you can scan this QR code, or there's a link. After this, I'll provide the slides so that you can link out to this link. There's actually 2 tracks of the training available. The first track is for those who have previously gotten a Publons profile before. So for those of you who have previously used Publons before, you can still use the same login to access your existing profiles from Web of Science. Okay. And the second track is for those who have never claimed a profile before on Publons. Okay. All right, so let me just pause here and let me see if there's any questions. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Or is there any questions from the audience at the training on site?
Hi.
Yes, hi.
I would like to ask from your earlier slide because I'm sorry, I missed that part.
No
You were
worries.
saying when you were connecting, like when we first have to get the materials, the past year, let's say our research is on 2012, and then we go to the history, all those papers in the blue color, and then I missed the second, and also the future one, it will be among the earlier slides, I think. I missed
This one?
the present one. Yeah, what's the yellow one? The
The
green is the future, right? The yellow one is?
The yellow one is actually the related one. So that means they share similar references. So that means out of the 10 references, they have 2 or 3 that are similar, are the same. Then that's called related records.
Okay. So so this particular student, let's say, will try to, we can guide them that start looking for this one, or sorry, can I get a little bit more explanation on this part?
Oh, okay. So you can advise your students. So let's say they have this idea of an article here. So they want to be able to comprehensively look at both ways. Then historically, they have to trace back what has been done before. So this is the blue part, the blue articles, by looking at the reference list. So looking at the reference list, you can link to another article, and then that other article will also have references. So then you can also continue to look down that reference route. So that's how you start to explore historical information. Then for the time cited, this is the newer publications after 2012. This is where you want to know from after this 2012 paper has been published, how has it influenced science up to today? So by looking at the time cited, you can then trace back into the newer papers. The third way is just to make sure that you are comprehensive in your literature searching. So this is where we try and surface as much of the related records as possible by showing you those other papers that have shared references with the 2012 one.
Okay, just quickly again, for the future one, the green one, right? So we are assuming this author has wrote the paper in 2012. So the green ones are those papers that are mentioned in this paper, right? But they are 2014. Like, can you explain a little bit more on this part?
So maybe this one will be easier explained when I show you the walkthrough, where you will be able to see the time cited, because this each of these papers, so let's say this 2012 paper will have a time cited and a reference list. So the time cited is usually like how many times it has been cited before, right? So citation counts are usually those that have mentioned it. So this 2014 paper, for example, has used this 2012 paper in its reference. So that's counted as one time cited.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if let's say we want them to look, so when we guide the students, it will be the blue one and the yellow one, right?
Actually, it's all three.
How will they be able to know the green one?
By clicking on time cited. So later on, when I show you the walkthrough on Web of Science, you can click actually on the time cited number, and it will show you the articles that have mentioned this 2012 one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, then let's go into the live platform. So to access the Web of Science platform, all of you should start by accessing the library's website. So through the library's website, you can sign in through either Easy Proxy. Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, Sharifa. But do they have to sign in through Easy Proxy? Hello? Maybe she's busy. But anyway, go through your library's website. If there's a login for Easy Proxy or Open Athens or any login required, just sign in. Once you're signed in, then you search for Web of Science under the online databases, and you can then start browsing Web of Science. Okay, so browsing the platform itself does not require you to register for anything. Okay, you can start searching the documents and researchers. Okay, if you want to have your own access to Web of Science, that is when you start to register for your own ID and password. Okay, one note of caution, when you want to register for your own ID, if you have published papers before on Web of Science, try and make use of the email address that you frequently publish with to register. Okay, so it does not have to be a UMT email address that you register with, but try and register with your published email address, so your publishing email address. The reason is because of the feature called the researcher profiles. So once you've registered, the system will actually suggest to you articles that might belong to you as a researcher. Then that's the first step of claiming the researcher profiles for yourself. Okay, so just take note, if you want to register for your own account for your science, just make use of the email address that you use frequently for publishing. Okay, so once you have once you get into Web of Science, I'll start with showing you how to do your searching and how to explore the content first, and then we'll go into the researcher profiles and researcher search. So if you are a first-time user, these are the fields available for you to search. So these are the quick search fields. Just by scrolling through, there will be a quick explanation of the search field. If you are doing a keyword search, you can start with topic. So the topic search will only look at the mention of the term in titles, abstract, or keywords. If you search all fields, it would look for the mention of this term within anything from things like funding tax, funding agency, affiliations, and so on. So it's everything. So if you're looking for a specific research topic, my recommendation is to start with the topic search. There is also an affiliation search here. So in the event that you want to identify UMT's papers, then you can click on affiliation and search for UMT, which I will demonstrate later on as well. So let's start with the topic search. So we can search for, I'm going to just start with one, hydrogen. So I'm just going to search this topic, hydrogen energy. If you want to build a search string, you can. So you can add an additional row to include, sorry, can you still see my screen? Just want to double check because I see it in the chat that somebody can't see. You should be able to see, right? Okay, great. Okay, so Richmond, I think maybe it's you might want to check your settings, okay? But otherwise, the recording should be shared with all of you after today. Yeah. Okay, so you can build another search row, but this time round I can put in year published. So maybe I only want the years 2010 to 2022. Okay. All right, and then we do a search. So this is a huge number, 170,555. Okay, so for this one, you might want to do a search within the results. So say, for example, I'm doing hydrogen energy, but I only want to look at those pertaining to storage. Then I can search for hydrogen energy storage. And this reduces the number to 28,000. But that's still a very big number. You can make use of these other filters on the left to limit your results further. Okay, one of my favorites now, which is something new that we've just released, is this thing called the citation topics. So citation topics, there's an information here, allows you to reduce your result set to a more granular level specific to a topic. So say, for example, you are doing hydrogen energy storage research, then perhaps this citation, this topic might be more suitable. So you want to reduce the noise of the other results that you might be getting. You can then click on this and refine. So this will then refine the set of results to specifically those around hydrogen chemistry and storage. Okay, so this citation topics clustering is done in collaboration with Leiden University and also our ISI team. They have gone through all the papers, and those that are frequently co-cited together will form what we call citation topics, and we have different levels of citation topics. So meso is the mid-level, which helps you to identify the most related papers about this topic that this citation topic is talking about. Okay, so now with this 5,000 plus results, I can start exploring the materials. So here on the left, you see you would see more filters here. So remember the highly cited papers filter. So out of these 5,000 plus papers, there are 64 that are highly cited papers. So if you want to identify which are these, just select and refine. Okay. Alternatively, you can use the sort functionality here to sort this by citation counts with the highest first. And usually that would surface those that are highly cited. Okay. So I mentioned about the marked list. So you can start building your list now. So perhaps you want to include this particular one. You want to include this other one. Then you can add to marked list by creating a new list. So I can create a new list and name it hydrogen UMT. Okay, and we can create. So now I have already started to create this list that I want to build up for hydrogen. Then I can also sort this by usage count, which I shared with you during my presentation slides. So I can sort this by usage count last 180 days. So some of these would be more recently published papers where you have 2021 papers, and perhaps you want to include this into your mark list. Then you can select and continue to add. Okay. So this is the list that you can build. Now, the next thing I'll share with you is about looking at the record itself. So you can click into this particular paper and look at the information. So this paper published in 2019, it is a review paper. It has these authors. This is the abstract and also the keywords used. So the keywords can be used to help you to refine your search down as well. Okay, so there are many ways for you to get to specific content. Then you also have the full author information, like their affiliations are there, and any funding information. Okay. The journal that is published in is also available, and you can see the journal impact factor available here, and also the quartile information if you click through to this journal title. Now, let's go into the citation network that I was talking about earlier on, that Dr. Shahida had asked about. So to guide your students, what they can do is, if they want to look back in history, that means those that have articles that have published before 2019, okay, then they would look at the cited references. So this 140 cited references. Okay, so these are the 140 references used that have been published before this paper was published. So you can click on 140, and this would bring you down to the reference list used. And again, from here, you can see the citation counts. You can also look at the links to the full text that are available, and continue to explore the citation network here on the right-hand side. Okay, so the citation network is always made out of these three things: citations, references, and related records. Okay, so this list here, this 140 is the references, which is the historical information. Then you scroll back up. Then you want them to see the newer papers. So papers that have been published after 2019, then this would be citations. Okay, so it has been cited 842 times. So you can click on 842. Then this would be the 842 papers that have been published after the one that you were looking at. And you can then start to explore the content again by using the sort functionality, the filters, or the analyze results function. Okay. Okay, then if you want to go back to where you were before, there is always this breadcrumb trail here at the top. You can click onto the previous one so that we can go back to this record again. Okay, so here, for this article, if you want to get the full text, okay, I think this is not a free full text, so that's why there's a link only to the full text at publisher. Okay, so if you click on this, it would bring you to the publisher's website, and it might ask you for a login. Okay. Otherwise, you can also export this into your EndNote. So if you have EndNote Online, EndNote Desktop, you can do that. Okay. And then let's go back one more step to look at the result sets again. So here, I will try and find an example for you for something that is available for free to view. Okay, so I'm going to try and demonstrate to you what we call the EndNote Click. So EndNote Click can be installed by going to Products and go to EndNote Click, and then you can do a registration, and it will be installed onto your web browser. Once you've done that, if there is an open access paper, you can filter this down. Let me filter this down to open access first. Then it will start to search Okay, so this is EndNote Click working in the background. So if there's any full text available, later on the link to the full text will be available for you to click through. Here, for example. So there's a view PDF with EndNote Click, then immediately you know that this article has a full text PDF you can make use of. Click on that. Oops. And it will open up the paper here in a separate tab. And from here, you can download the PDF to your computer or export it directly to your EndNote desktop so that it includes the PDF itself. Okay. Okay. So this is the set of results for open access. If I want to remove open access, I can just click on X to remove that filter. And we're back to the 5,000 plus results. Now, the analytical tools here, which I will explain. Okay, you have Analyze Results feature here. Click on Analyze Results. You are analyzing this 5,000 plus papers on hydrogen energy storage. So you click Analyze Results. Then you would see these drop downs. So there are citation topics, there is Web of Science categories, there are affiliations, and so on. Now, the Web of Science categories can be something that is interesting for you to look at because it will show you how the distribution of the content. So even though this is specific to hydrogen energy storage, it will tell you where it has been, which other categories it will fall under as well. So it falls under nuclear science technology, it falls under material science coating films, crystallography, and it might help you to identify unique applications. So because sometimes you might wonder, what has hydrogen energy storage got to do with crystallography? And you might then limit to this 26 papers and find out. Okay, so this would then help to spark ideas for you. Okay. The other thing that you can do is if you want to identify journals to publish in, okay, you can go to the publication titles. And this would be the titles that are publishing this area of research. So you have the International Journal of Hydrogen Energy, Journal of Alloys and Compounds, and so on. Okay. If you want to identify collaborators, then who are the experts? Okay. So you have either looking at affiliations, so which affiliations around the world is doing this area of research. Okay. So these are the different institutions. You can limit down to those institutions' papers. So let's say you want to look at those papers from Zhejiang University, then you can limit to Zhejiang University and refine results by selected. So once you have refined it to Zhejiang University, if they are the corresponding address or corresponding authors, then there will be a contact details on the article itself, and you can contact those researchers to discuss further. If you want to know which are the funding agencies that fund this area of research, there's also a funding agencies analysis. And this is what you can see. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just pause here before I go on to explain other functions. Any questions about what I've shown for topic search?
Sorry again, it's me.
Yes, hi.
Yes, it's just about just now you were mentioning export, right?
Yep.
So if export, you do have if you can go to the export button just now, you can see that there are other types like BibTeX and all that, right?
Yep. Yes.
That one specifically if you use bibliometrics, all that, is it? Or
Yes,
and
correct. So
for
if you are using these other different softwares, then there are exports available for them. If you're using
okay,
other reference management tools, then the RIS is the one that you will be exporting to.
other reference software.
Yeah.
But for this one, for the normal usage, right? For normal usage, usually it goes to Excel. Is it? Do we export to Excel? Like, let's say they're not familiar with text or anything, so Excel is okay, right?
Excel.
Where we can gather all the relevant literature.
Excel would be more like for combining data sets. So let's say if if you're doing a big data analysis, you want to combine, say, data about this article from Web of Science with data from a different database about that same article, then you would use the Excel export to combine. If you're using, if you want to export this so that you can save it as a list for yourself, then yes, you can use the Excel as well. But usually people would tend to either export this to EndNote Online, EndNote Desktop, or the other reference management tools. This will then help them to make sure that it's easier to read, because Excel, you have all the different columns, right? It gets
Yeah,
a
but
bit messy to read.
yeah, I do agree with you, because when you say EndNote, right? EndNote would be
Yeah,
helpful because especially to cite the references and so on, right?
yeah, correct.
So maybe, but between online and desktop, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on between online and desktop?
Okay. So the EndNote Online, there is two versions. So EndNote Desktop is something that the institution can subscribe to, or the individual can subscribe to install the software onto their PC. So I think for UMT, correct me if I'm wrong, Henry, maybe you want to confirm. But I think UMT should have access to EndNote Desktop, right? But Henry can confirm. If they do, then they can install. Once they have installed, then it becomes like a tool similar to Word document or PowerPoint. So it's like a software that you can run on your PC. So you can do all these things offline. Yeah.
Julian, I can confirm with the library later.
Yeah, just confirm. But the difference between the desktop version and the online version is that there are more, how to say, the reference styles. There will be a lot more. I think close to 5,000 or 6,000 reference styles available. At the same time, the desktop version has other features that the online version will not have. So the online version is usually a more basic version that allows you to put in the references, put in um the standard types of uh reference styles that you would want to use. So there are differences between the two, but it varies by how to say, complexity of usage.
So
Yeah.
if let's say we do not have we did not subscribe for the EndNote desktop, we can always use the EndNote online, which is available to anyone.
Yes, there's a free version of EndNote Online. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, then we go to the search again. Earlier on, I was just showing you a quick search. There is also an advanced search available here. So maybe I went too quickly, sorry. So there's an advanced search right here under the quick search buttons. So you can click on advanced search. This will allow you to custom build a Boolean search string in the event that you want a more precise search. Okay, this requires you to be a bit of an expert of Boolean searching. Okay, but even if you're not, there is a help available. Say for example, I am looking for topic search again. Let's do nanoparticles. You can just click add to query, and then you can choose a different field to search. Year published 2011 to 2022. Then you can choose the connector that you want, and or not. Okay. And then you add to the query, and you can see here, this becomes a advanced search query string that uses the Boolean field text here. You can actually use these various Boolean field text, so there is some definitions here that you can use. Once you're ready, you can just go and click search, and it will populate here. Now, in the event that you have built such a comprehensive or complex search string that you want to replicate this with and share this with your colleagues, in the past it was quite difficult. Now, all you needed to do is to run this search. Then there's this copy query link at the bottom. So you can click copy query link. And then I'm going to just put this into the chat. And this is the link that you can share with your colleagues, your students, so that they are replicating exactly the same thing that you've done. Okay, so it becomes easier to share your search with anyone now. There's also alerts available. So with search alerts, you can create alert to alert you whenever there's a new article indexed based on your search criteria. There is citation alerts as well as author alerts for you to look at to set up. Okay, so that's advanced search. To show you the affiliation search, let me go to the basic search again. Let's clear this. So for the basic search, if I want to look at the affiliation, so if I want to identify UMT's papers, I can choose affiliation, and I type in Terengganu. Then you have University Malaysia Terengganu, and you can do a search. So in total, you have 5,667 in Web of Science. Then immediately you can do some analysis, like how many of them are highly cited papers, how many are hot papers, which topics are you publishing more in. Okay, so mostly in marine biology. Then you have artificial intelligence and machine learning, management, economics, herbicides, pesticides. So all these are your research areas. You also have your authors. So these are the available researcher profiles for UMT. So Prof. Lam, I've always been using his profile as an example, but these are profiles that he has claimed already. So you can click on his name, then it will appear on the right-hand side. So this is his profile. Then if you want to see the full profile of his, then you can click on View Author Profile. Okay, so I'm just going to come here and view author profile. So this is where we're talking about the researcher profiles now. And for those of you who have published a paper in Web of Science, I would encourage you to go and claim this profile for yourself and make it as comprehensive as possible. So you can include your preferred name, your current organization. You can include your ORCID ID if you have. And you can also include non-Web of Science publications. So say, for example, Prof. Lam here, he has 7 papers that are not in Web of Science, but you can still include this in your profile so that it becomes a very comprehensive researcher profile. If you have peer reviewed for any journals, you can also put in your peer review. So you can these are the journals he has peer reviewed for and the number. Okay. And on the right-hand side, this would be his profile dashboard. So all his metrics will be here: number of papers, number of citations, page index based on Web of Science, and also his author impact beam plot. Now, the author impact beam plot is something useful to show you, on average, out of all his publications, the performance of his papers. So on average, he is performing at 83rd percentile. So he is top 20% of his field. Okay. So if you want to see his full dashboard, you can just click here. And this is the full author impact beam plot. And if you scroll down, there is a geographic citation map. This can show you the influence of his citations. So this becomes a very useful measure to find out about the influence of an author, whether his work has been cited around the world. Okay. Okay, so you can see here the numbers. Okay. We can close this. So in order to claim your own profile, like I mentioned, you register with your frequently published email address so that the system can prompt you. Alternatively, you can also, after you've registered, you can go to researcher search and search for your full name. Okay. So Dr. Shahida, I was just wondering, do you have any papers in Web of Science currently?
Yes.
Have you claimed your profile, by the way?
Not yet.
Not yet. Would you mind if I use you as an example?
Oh, no.
Don't want. Okay, if don't want, never mind. Then I'll show you the organization, okay? So
Okay.
let's look at UMT as a whole. So there's an option to search by organization. Most recent publication, if you select this option, it would show you the list of authors that has their most recent publications affiliated to UMT. Okay, then you can look for Terengganu and you do a search. Yeah, Prof. Lam is here. So you can see Prof. Lam has claimed his profile. So to distinguish between a claim or unclaimed profile, this is claim. So with a green tick, it means that this profile has already been claimed, so you cannot claim anymore. Okay, then you have this other one. Those that have not been claimed will not have a green tick. So this one, Tabatabai, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, okay, has not claimed this profile. So if he wants to claim this, he can click on this record. So it will say that this is an algorithmically generated author record. It has not been claimed yet. So if he is the author and he wants to claim, then he can click on claim my record. Okay. So because he has already registered for his profile, okay, then using the same account, he can just claim my record and immediately select those articles that are his. So if all 82 are his, he can select all, otherwise unselect those that are not. Okay, so that means I only wrote 80 of the 82, and then you click submit, and that's it. Okay, I'm not going to claim this because this is not me. Okay, but once that is done, it will link to his profile and the details will be all there on his researcher profile. Okay, so that's claiming the profile. In the event that you want to update your profile, on the left-hand side, there is a profile link. Okay. You can actually maintain this profile of yours. So you can go to edit my profile. And this would be where you can include your photo, the display name, and your primary organization name. You can also set your peer review preferences as well as your ORCID syncing. Okay, you can connect your ORCID ID from here. If you want to add new records, there is a manage here, or there's a drop down here on the left. You can add publication, you can add peer reviews or editor records. So you can click add publications. And to add non-Web of Science publications, you add this by identifier. And you can add by DOI. Okay. And that's it. So this is the researcher profile that you can claim for. I've also demonstrated most of the functionalities on Web of Science. because I see that we are almost at 4 p.m. soon, we'll probably have to jump into the journal citation reports so that I can quickly show you what you can do on journal citation reports and where you can get more detailed training on that. Okay, but in the meantime, for Web of Science itself, if you need more support or you need more training, there is a resource center here at the bottom right-hand side, denoted by the question mark. There is training. So if you want to direct your students to the training here, you can link through to Web of Science Essentials. There's a self-guided course that they can enroll for. And there's also a training portal for Web of Science. All right. Okay. Finally, if you want to know the year of coverage that you have access to, right here under editions, there is a drop-down arrow. You will be able to see which editions you have subscription to or access to and which year of coverage. All right. Okay. So that's Web of Science. Any final questions on Web of Science before we move into journal citation reports? No? Okay, then let me just move back here. Oh, sorry. Let me just move to journal citation reports first. So earlier on, I mentioned about making sure that your students or the researchers yourself are accessing the most trusted content, okay, to avoid any predatory journals. And that's why the Web of Science has been curated so strictly. So the journals itself, earlier on, I showed you on Web of Science, you're able to use the Analyze Results function to find the publication titles that are indexed in Web of Science. But if you need more information about the journals itself, like the journal impact factor, the journal citation indicator, or any other journal-related metric, okay, like quartile information and so on, the journal citation reports is actually the database that you should be looking at. So the journal citation reports is the home of the journal impact factor, if you're familiar with that. And it is a report that is released annually in June. So every June, we will release the latest journal impact factors for the journals. Now, for now, we have close to 21,000 journals that are in journal citation reports. So this is the same as the number of journals on Web of Science. So all the journals on Web of Science will be able to be seen on journal citation reports. It will also allow you to see the Science Citation Index Expanded, Social Science Citation Index, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, and Emerging Sources Citation Index journal information. So in the past, I think a lot of social science or arts students always ask, it's so difficult to find journals that are in Web of Science that fall under arts and humanities or social sciences. So now you are able to easily see all the required information on JCR. Okay. One thing to take note of is that for now, only the Science Citation Index Expanded and the Social Science Citation Index journals have a journal impact factor. Okay. But moving forward next year, so from 2023 onwards, all journals, including those that are in AHCI and ESCI, will be given a journal impact factor. Okay, I repeat. From next year, 2023, all journals, including those that are in AHCI and ESCI, will be given a journal impact factor. Right? But whether or not the quartiles are the same, akan datang, okay? We will give you more information later on as we move closer to the date.
Sorry, you said will be given, but it's written will not be awarded journal impact factor.
Yeah, so this is current status. So the slide that I'm showing you is current status,
okay.
and the reason why we currently do not give the impact factor to these two. But moving forward next year, we will be giving. Yeah. Okay. All the journals, including those that are in AHCI and ESCI, they will be given these metrics as well. So we have the journal citation indicator, immediacy index and eigenfactor scores, article influence scores, citing half-life, cited half-life. Now, all these different metrics, I probably won't have time to cover today, but there is definitely some previous recordings from other training sessions that I've done before that I can share so that you can listen in to find out more about these indicators. But ultimately, all journals will get all these different indicators and you will be able to use them to make full decisions on which journal to select. Okay. So because of time, I'm going to just jump into the journal citation reports to show you critical information that probably you can share with your students or even use by yourself. Okay, so to access journal citation reports, if you're on Web of Science, you can just simply click on products and go to JCR. It's journal citation reports here. Or you can just go into the library's website, do a new search, log in and go into journal citation reports. Okay, so this is the home page. Okay, so most of your students will want to verify whether a journal is indexed in Web of Science or not. So they can use this to just type in the journal's name. So let's say I'm looking for International Journal of Agronomy. So if the journal exists, then it will appear here, and then I can link to this journal details. And all the related information about the journal will be here, including the publisher details, number of issues a year, and the various metrics. Okay, so this particular journal does not have a journal impact factor currently because it is in ESCI. So it will only have the JCI, Journal Citation Indicator, right? Then the next thing that your students might want to see, or you yourself might want to see, is the journals that are related to my subject category. Okay, if you go to categories, so you can start to go to categories. We have a few groups here for the categories. So if you are in agricultural sciences, you can click on this 7. These are the available categories. So if you are in if you want to have a list of all 7 categories, just click on see all 7, or you can just select the one that is most related to you. Let's say agriculture, dairy, and animal science. And you would see two lines options here. So there's one which is SCIE and one that is ESCI. What's the difference for this year? SCIE has a journal impact factor, ESCI does not. So in the event that you want to only see those journals that have a journal impact factor, then you click on this number 63. Then these are the 63 journals that are in agriculture, dairy, and animal science that have a journal impact factor. And to view the indicators, by default, it will always show you the journal impact factor and the quartile. Okay, so there's a JIF quartile here. Just take note, there is also another quartile called JCI quartile, which is the quartile for journal citation indicator. So don't be confused. The quartile that we are always referring to, or that Muhi is always referring to, or Myra is always referring to, is the JIF quartile. Okay, so the journal's quartile is always the JIF quartile for now. Yeah. So this is the list, and you can then export this into CSV or Excel. Okay. So you can browse by using the other options here. So you can browse by category, browse by publisher, browse by countries as well. Then if you another indicator that might be useful for your researchers is something called the percentage of articles in citable items. So to get to that, you can click on customize. Okay. And include percentage of articles in citable items. Then I'll explain what this is. Okay. Now, the content here for the document types that are used for the calculation of the journal impact factor is only articles and reviews. So articles plus reviews equals to citable items. All right. So if let's say here 95% of the items are articles, what does this mean? It means that close to 5% is reviews. All right. So for your students who are writing review papers versus articles, they can use this as a way to identify which journals accept reviews more. Sorry, pardon me. So again, I repeat. So let's say we find something here. Okay, so this one has 64%. Okay, so this journal, World Poultry Science Journal, publishes 64% of its content as articles, which means to say 36% of its content is reviews. So if I were to be writing a review paper related to poultry, okay, I might have a chance if I submit my article here. Okay. So use this indicator, recommend this to your students to have a look at these indicators before they decide on which journal to submit to. Okay. All right.
Sorry, a quick one.
Yeah.
Would you just also show me indicate if there is anything to do with case study, if students want to submit anything on for case study to
Case
identify
study.
journals.
Case study. So for journal citation reports itself, we will not be able to filter by document type per se, okay, because there's no filter for the document type. But if, let's say, we are on Web of Science, is there a particular topic that you were looking at? Is there a particular topic that you were looking to?
Yeah, maybe you can look into digital entrepreneurship.
Digital and my English is horrendous, but but am I right?
Okay.
We'll just try. No.
Mesti dia. entrepreneur.
Okay, I'll just put digital
Okay.
entrepreneur. Okay.
Okay.
So with this, there is under here some document types. So there's a filter for document types here. Let me find it. Yeah, document types. So if you click on this, if there's any case studies available, then you can limit to the case study, but it doesn't seem like there's any here. Probably had to search a bit more, but we do have the document type for case studies. So do take a look and see whether you can filter it down to those document types, and then use the analyze results feature to look at the publications that published those case studies. Yeah, so you can actually limit this. So let's say I only want to find those journals that are doing let's just choose one. review article. So assume this is the case study, then you refine, then you use the analyze results, and you look at the publication titles. Then this would be the journals that are publishing this document type in this area of research. Does that answer your question, Dr. Sharida?
It seems that I couldn't find the case study, right? Maybe there's no example for that. It's okay.
Yeah, correct. So just assume that you are able to find ultimately, then you can limit through that way. But on journal citation reports itself, sadly, we don't have that filter for that particular document type because we do not use case studies as the content when we calculate the journal impact factor.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I know that we are on top of the hour. So final few things that I wanted to share is the other tool called InCites Benchmarking and Analytics. I kind of covered some of the information there when we were doing Web of Science. Remember the highly cited papers and the hot papers filter? Those actually come from InCites. And InCites Benchmarking Analytics is a tool that you can use to get more citation indicators, collaboration indicators to measure research performance of different entities or different groups of papers. You can even custom search a data set within Web of Science and export it into InCites Benchmarking Analytics to do further analysis. Okay, so I understand that for today we don't have enough time for this, and usually this takes more time. We usually take a separate 1.5 hour session to go through InCites Benchmarking and Analytics alone. So if it is something of interest to you, it's a topic that you think might be useful, do reach out to the library, and then we can always organize a separate session to go through InCites Benchmarking and Analytics in more detail. But I thought that for today's open house, it would help to give you like a flavor of what are the resources that you have access to and what you can point your students to. Okay. So finally, my email address, I will put that here. This is my email address. So if you have any further questions, you can reach out to me via this email. I'll put this into the chat. Okay. Oops. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And if you have questions on site, you can always ask Henry. Okay.